This is Shuttle Launch Control, T-minus 3 hours in holding with 50 minutes, 33 seconds remaining in the planned built-in hold. Joining us now is Robbie Ashley. He is the STS-132 Payload Mission Manager for Space Shuttle Atlantis. And Robbie, I know you're going to talk through some of the milestones that we've been going through to get this payload ready to fly that's in Atlantis' payload bay right now. But about how long has this flow taken to put all these pieces and parts together for launch?
Well, George, the team here, the mission processing team here, started working with our Russian colleagues and Energia in particular a little over 2 years ago now, and that was in the early planning, just trying to understand their module and then the requirements that they were going to have once they arrived here. I came onto the mission in November of 2008, so not quite midway through, but not at the beginning. But we really just shortly after that, about December 2008, is when we really started ramping up our planning to prepare for their arrival here at the center and get them ready for launch. And then one of the major milestones that we had was in 2009, in the summer of 2009, the cargo integration review. And that's out in Houston, and that's where we all gather together and review their engineering, review all of the requirements, and just make sure that their payload is going to be compatible with the shuttle, and make sure there's not going to be any issues when we go to integrate into the orbiter and get it ready for launch.
Well, let's go ahead and look at the video now, and Robbie, if you'll walk us through us and tell us what we're seeing as we go along here.
Okay, sure. Okay, this is out at the shuttle landing facility. This is a Antonov 124 aircraft operated by Volga Dnepr, and they were contracted to bring the Russian-built MRM-1, or Mini Research Module Number 1, from Moscow here to the U.S. and to Florida. And now we're looking at actually the front end. The nose has been lifted up, and they're bringing the primary shipping container out that has the MRM-1 module itself, as well as the equipment airlock that is for one of the outfitting components for a later Russian module, the multipurpose laboratory module that launches later. So it's been transferred to a flatbed and then transported over off-center over to the port at the Astrotech facility. And now we're watching some of their technicians, the Energia technicians, or as they call them, specialists, loading cargo into the module. And that's some of the 1,400 kilograms, or just over 3,000 pounds of U.S. cargo that is being launched inside the MRM-1 module. Now the technicians are preparing to close the hatch. That'll be the final hatch closure, getting it ready for to bring it back to the center here and integrate it with the orbiter. So this is the actual hatch being closed. This is the it has a hatch on, or a docking port on either end, but this is the one that will be used to dock to the station. And that docking mechanism that you saw and we're looking at here with the red protective covers over it, it's the same mechanism that's used on a Soyuz or a Progress vehicle. So we have a lot of experience with those. So the MRM-1 is now in its flight configuration. They finished all of their final assembly, integration, testing, checkout activities at the port, and it's getting ready to come over to the center and to our space station processing facility. That's the equipment airlock on the back of, or the top of, the MRM-1 module. And they're using air-bearing casters now to translate it over and get it ready to install in the shipping container for the short road trip from the port onto the center and to our space station processing building. And these are Astrotech technicians who are doing the hoisting. We'll install it. This is an Astrotech or vintage Space Hab transportation system, payload transportation system that we're looking at as the container there, and it's also a specially developed lowboy trailer that they use for transporting payloads. So it's going into the Well, it was in the shipping container. Now we're over in the space station processing facility, and we're preparing to put the module into our payload canister for the trip out to the launch pad. This is the other end of the docking mechanism, or the MRM-1 that we were looking at. That'll be the port where Progress and Soyuz vehicles will dock in the future. So that is one of the 2 grapple fixtures. That's the one that will take, the station arm will take the handoff from shuttle arm on orbit during the mating operations. This is a couple of days later, April 7th, the integrated cargo carrier in the space station building, and it's also being installed in the payload canister, getting ready to come out to the pad. We were looking at 6 batteries on the back side of it, and then prominently featured there on the front is the KU band antenna that'll be flying up. Now the canister is being rotated from horizontal. This is over in our canister rotation facility. So we take it from horizontal to vertical for the trip out to the pad. So we lift it up here and set it right back down on the same transporter, but just in a vertical. And they're bolting it down now and securing it for the trip to the pad. And this is April 15th in the evening of on the way out to the pad with the VAB and the Launch Control Center in the background. And now we're actually back here in the SSPF, I should say, downstairs in one of the offline laboratories. This is a week prior to launch, and we're looking at one of the research teams preparing their experiment to get it ready to be installed in the orbiter. This is some of the kind of the time-critical samples that get installed late in the flow, about 24 hours prior to the launch. Those are rice seeds we were looking at. That's one of the Japanese-sponsored experiments where they'll be looking at the effects of microgravity on rice cellular wall development, and basically looking at the ways to counteract the microgravity environment for growing things on orbit. Now we're back in the at the pad in the payload changeout room. This is earlier this week on the 11th, the final door closure for launch. So the payload bay doors are being closed. The payloads have all been closed out. Final inspection, everything checked out very well. And the doors are going closed. And this is the moment in the flow where our team, the payload team, can kind of just let out a big exhale as the payload bay doors are closed, and just enjoy the rest of the week as leading up to launch.
Well, Robbie, what, from your perspective, you think have been some of the most interesting aspects of this mission?
Well, I mean, the main thing that stands out is the international aspect, and particularly working with our Russian colleagues on this mission. We have a history of working with our Russian partners, but this is the first Russian major element that is being launched on the shuttle to the space station. We, of course, have launched Russian element to the Mir, previously the docking module. But this is the first one that we've launched in the payload bay of the shuttle on the way to the station. So that's been very unique and interesting for our team. It's been a great learning experience for us, and one of the things that I hadn't prepared for when I came onto this mission, because up to that point I had not had any experience working with international partners, but when in working with the Russians, I guess I wasn't aware ahead of time that all of the conversations are carried on through translators. So that was a new